Hello everyone, DiscoWarlock here, and welcome back to part 2 of the Hitchhiker's Guide to Albion Online on Personal Islands. In this part of the chapter on Personal Islands, we'll be covering laborers. So, what exactly are laborers? Well, these guys are the bread and butter of self-sustained crafting, or making some meaty cash. They do, however, come with a large startup fee in order to begin generating some silver. Thanks to a recent update, you can now buy laborers on the market which are already leveled. Now, while this may speed up the process in which you can start farming your laborers and potentially generating more money, you will be shelling out an even higher initial cost. But you've got the money to invest. So, how can you tell which laborer is right for you? Well, laborers can be split into two categories, gatherers and crafters. Note, I'm going to leave mercenaries out of this simply because they aren't worth it. The amount of time that you spend leveling them up and the amount of money you'll spend on them and outfitting them, they just don't give you the same returns of investment as the crafters and gatherers. Let's start with the gathering laborer. These guys require journals which are filled from gathering resources and is great for players who gather a lot, while the crafting laborers require journals which are filled from crafting from their specific building, i.e. the Fletcher requires you to craft gear from the Hunter's Lodge, the Imbuer from the Mage Tower, etc. Now, once you have the filled journal, you can then give them the filled journal and away they go for 22 hours. When they return, they will grant you either unrefined resources if you have a gathering laborer, or refined resources if you have the crafting laborer. If you have the mercenary laborer, they would return you a small fistful of silver. I would also like to point out that each journal has tiers, and they can only be filled by their respective tier for crafting, or 2 tiers above if you're gathering. So let's say, for example, you have a T5 journal. You will need to gather either T5, T6, or T7 resources in order to fill that journal, or craft purely T5 gear. Note that these T5 journals can only be given to a laborer that is T5 or greater as well. There are also journals out there that are called generalist journals. Now, these journals, which are filled by any sort of fame and can be given to any laborer in return that they will bring you a generalist trophy, along with granting your laborer even more XP. Think of them as a way to power level your laborers while giving you a furniture item in return as opposed to resources. Gathering laborers also have a specialty trophy. This is given when you hand the gathering laborer a specialist journal, and again rewards a large amount of XP in return for the specialist trophy. Speaking of trophies, laborers have a happiness level. The higher level of happiness, the better return from giving them complete journals, for a maximum of 100% if the laborer is the same tier as the house, and you give them an equal tier journal. For example, you have a T4 house with a T4 laborer, and you give them a T4 journal. The maximum return at max happiness is 100%. So what you're going to want to do is actually have a higher tier house, higher tier laborer, and then give them a tier lower journal so you get a 150% return as opposed to a 100% return. Now, all trophies aside, you're going to want to lay out your house in this way. We've got 3 beds, 1 table, all the same tier as the house. Then you have 1 general trophy if it's a crafting laborer, all the way up to the tier of the house. And if you have a gathering laborer, you're going to want to add that special trophy, 1 of each tier, all the way up to the tier of the house, in order to further boost their happiness. Note that the trophies happiness modifiers, they don't stack, so you don't need like 50 tier 1 trophies, etc. It doesn't stack, so you will only need 1 of each type, all the way up to the tier of the house. So now that we've covered the laborers, journals, trophies, furniture, and you have your house completely laid out, you're ready to start sending your laborers on tasks and hopefully profiting from your investment. So to sum laborers up, pick 1 type of labor that you'll use the most, since splitting them means more work for you and more types of journals to worry about, etc., etc. Start with a T5 to T6 house and fill it with T5 to T6 furniture and the required amount of trophies. Let the laborer's happiness meter fill before sending them on tasks. That way you can maximize your initial returns on investment. Now, during this 22-hour period, you can either fill some journals or buy them off the market. And once their happiness meter is filled, feel free to send your laborers on some tasks. Then, in the next 22 hours, you profit. So, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you found it helpful. If so, hit that like button and let me know down in the comments what you thought, maybe any questions you might have, or what laborers you run. Don't forget to subscribe to stay tuned.